everything from the latest on the government shutdown, finger pointing continuing, SNAP benefits, elections tomorrow, including some here, but we're keeping an eye on New Jersey, Virginia, New York City. My feeling is, hey, if New York City wants a socialist, communist mayor, see how that free stuff works and see how he's going to pay for it. But anyway, you get what you vote for. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an H. Our poll question up on X this morning. By the way, good morning. Jack Heath, J-Dog on the boards. Thank you for making us the region's top choice for live and on-demand news talk, starting in the morning at 5:30 with Mike Pomp, going through my show, Good Morning New Hampshire, the Pulse of an H, 9 to noon. Our network of AM and FM stations spanning now up further up into Maine on 98.7 FM HD2, if you like that. The Lakes region, we got you covered. Manchester, Concord, 107.7 FM, 107.3 FM, 98.1 FM. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, worldwide, play the Pulse of an H and check out our on-demand stuff. Poll question up on X this morning, though, at the Pulse of an H is, do you approve of New Hampshire's contingency SNAP food plan or food assistance coordinating with the mobile food pantry network? We're going to hear it right now, I think, from Governor Kelly Ayotte live this morning. Good morning, New Hampshire, the Pulse of an Inch. Good morning, Governor. Well, thank you. Busy times, I know. Welcome to November. Elaborate on any updates since we've come out of the weekend. We still have the finger pointing of the government shutdown, and we'll see where it goes. But food assistance here at home, you put together a plan with the executive council lawmakers to cover this. Updates this morning on that front. Thank you. Mm-hmm. We want to make sure there's additional food. This is the New Hampshire way. I know people are out there also making charitable donations to the food bank and to help their neighbors. That's how we do things in New Hampshire. Yeah, I know over the weekend or Friday, we stood up our Binney family of radio stations to support the 24 more food pantries, and people can donate. Text 78,000. And you can donate. But Governor, I know year round when we've done our foods caring and sharing for food pantries, I've been amazed, not just during a government shutdown or the question over SNAP benefits, but just year round, the number of people that rely on these wonderful food pantries, Tuesday night, Monday night, family, 3 or 4 kids in a family, the meals, like even in Somersworth, I met the couple that runs a food pantry there. I'm amazed at the work they do year round. Liberty House in Manchester, you're a big supporter for the veterans there. But each night they put out, I think it's over 125 meals or something. So there's a real need year round. We're not going to just sit there and talk. We've got to get things done. And Washington's got to get its act together and open this government back up. Yeah. Well, I know here at home, I've heard from Portsmouth Naval Shipyard workers, civilian contractors. You know what they said to me, Governor? They were not talking about you because I don't want to say his name. He's one of the foremen there. He said he called your office, but he goes, I don't blame the governor. It's nothing to do with the shutdown. It's Congress. But he said every time there's an election, they want a photo op with us at the shipyard, and we're not getting paid. Have you had any dialogue with Senator Shaheen or Hassan during this government shutdown about just back channel talking to them about getting the government back open, or just no discussion?
I've definitely urged them, to get this done. I mean, and I've also publicly urged everyone to get this done because this is really important. As you know, this additional resources to the food bank, we hope to get through 5 weeks of more food out in the community for SNAP recipients. But this is not a replacement, and we need to get that done. And but again, I understand everyone has issues and that are important to them that they want to dig in on. But when it comes to feeding people, like we just gotta do what's right.
Yep. Governor, before we let you go, you were just because I'm thinking of time of year and household budget items, you were concerned about the Public Utilities Commission and the recent round of, the utilities requesting hikes and some of the costs going to consumers for electricity. You were very outspoken. AARP, one of our sponsors, intervened, and you were calling for some things, including maybe even new leadership at the Public Utilities Commission. Any updates on that front on energy and electricity?
The update, I would ask you to go to the governor's website because we're looking for a new PUC commissioner, and I want to have someone who's qualified, who understands these issues, but is also going to focus on ratepayers. So we have a search right now, and I want to make sure that we have a PUC that is focused on protecting ratepayers and energy costs here in New Hampshire. That is a priority of mine, and I know that our energy costs are way too high. So I'm going to continue to fight to make sure that we do everything on the policy level, first of all, to expand energy opportunities, but also having the right people in place as they look at when utilities come for rate hikes.
Governor, we're going to let you go, but one of our listeners just sent in a quick request on the listener line. You mentioned this Wednesday at the beginning on where people can go. Can you just one more time on if people are looking for continued SNAP support or food assistance? You mentioned Wednesday.
So the mobile pantries, first of all, you can go to the food bank now, newhampshirefoodbank.org, and get information now, even before the mobile pantries are stood up. But mobile pantries will be stood up on Wednesday at dhs.newhampshire.gov, or the food bank website will tell you where in your community the closest mobile food bank is. I would also say to individuals who are elderly or clients, people who have disabilities, please reach out as well. And the food bank and our local nonprofit partners will help get the food to you directly if you can't get out.
And these food pantries will be pretty much across the state, not just in like.
They're going to cover the entire state.
Wow,
and
cool.
They're focused on SNAP recipients. And obviously, though, I know there's others that have a need. The food bank is still doing its regular operations as well, but they'll cover the entire state because I know there's areas of our state that are tougher to get to in the North Country. I'm really mindful of that, so that's why these are mobile pantries.
Thank you so much for the updates, Governor. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Jack. Have a great day.
I do say, and I do mean this. This is the part of New Hampshire that I think is different. And let me just cut to the chase on comparing us to Maine and Massachusetts. Number one, you can't compare us to Massachusetts, much bigger state population wise. And I don't even understand the fiscal insanity of that state and taxes and everything else, and priorities. But Maine, you certainly can, other than physically being a bigger state. We're about the same populations, and you can. It's a fair comparison. But I look at the amount of money that the governor, executive council, and our lawmakers put up to cover this gap of food assistance, question mark, stress on families that rely on it. And I'm going to be honest with you. My eyes were open long before the finger pointing of a government shutdown. A year ago, J Dog, maybe it was more than a year ago. We did our radiothon as part of my show, the morning show, our day lineup on the Pulse for the caring and sharing. And I learned that I know about Gather in the Seacoast. I know about the food pantry in Manchester, Catholic Charities, Liberty House, but I didn't know there were like 24 or 26 nonprofits in the state. 26 nonprofits. And I keep mentioning, but sometimes, and I learned this from Jack Harper when I was a reporter at WCVB in Boston, sometimes the best way to learn a story is through one person's eyes. And during that period, we had that couple that ran the Somersworth, New Hampshire food pantry. And they're a couple, they're married, and they both had been in business and executive life, and they came together to take over this food pantry. Somersworth, New Hampshire. You wouldn't think the demand would be, off the charts for food for families that need food. Let's cut to the chase. A warm meal for the kids, for the family. Grocery. This was at the start. Inflation was going through the roof, but this was a while ago. And they were telling me the number of meals that they serve weeknights. And the way it works is people can go by, pick up the meals, and bring them home. And they said, Jack, some families are single parents with 4 kids. So we're sending them home with 5 warm meals on a Tuesday night. I go, how many people in Somersworth? And they said, we're full. We're maxed out. We serve, and it was well over 100 meals a night in Somersworth. And that was on a Tuesday. I forget what time of year it was, J-Dog. Spring when we did this. And I'm like, wow. So my eyes were open for the need. If you want to support any of these food pantries, this is a good time to do it. As Governor Ayotte just said, Gather. It's just called Gather in the Seacoast. They've been doing it for decades. They do a wonderful job for the whole Seacoast out of Portsmouth. Liberty House in Manchester for veterans. They don't just do transitional housing at Liberty House. It's a home for veterans, transitional housing to get back into full-time housing, situations. But they serve meals at night for veterans. And we had the I don't know if it was Ashley, but we had one of the folks on who runs it. And she's awesome. And the numbers of meals they do every night at the Liberty House blew my mind out of that kitchen. So the need is there long before the finger pointing and the blaming and the politics of government shutdown. And how long this goes, I have no idea. I don't think anyone. I watched the interview last night on 60 Minutes, which was pre-taped, I think from Friday night when President Trump got back from Asia. First interview he's done with 60 Minutes in 5 years. And it's clear that he just doesn't feel. Now, this morning, the judges in the courts may order the Trump administration to release these emergency funds for SNAP, and that may happen this morning before noon. But the president said last night he's not going to be extorted by Democrats to negotiate. What do you call? I mean, he had some choice names for Senator Schumer, and you got the Democrats holding the line. I don't know if they're waiting to see what happens tomorrow in Virginia or New Jersey in these elections in New York City, but I don't know what, at some point, these federal workers that are TSA agents, FAA control tower people, because our airways and safety is important at this time of year. Any day, a flight with a couple hundred or 150 people on it or whatever. They're calling in sick because they're not getting paid. And I look at, how long, by the way, no private company could order its employees to work without getting paid, but the government can. Imagine what would happen to a private business if they ordered their employees to show up and work and not get paid. How long to the members of Congress in particular? I'm going to tell you, it's majority. It's the Democrats that are voting no to get the 60 vote threshold. They need 4 or 5 more votes to open the government. And then for what? To November 21st? That's the next looming government shutdown. This is insanity. This is no way to run. And people are looking at Congress as a body, as an entity with probably the lowest approval ratings in our lifetime since they've been measured, probably single digits right now. And it's for no wonder, because people look at Congress as every 6 months there's a looming government shutdown. And this is the longest. And Democrats are holding out over health insurance, Obamacare rates. The media is in on it. It's just everything is like blaming the Republicans because they're in charge. But the Democrats are voting no to reopen the government. And there's sound from former President Obama, and I'll share that. And others saying, you never do this. You never shut the government down until now. Now it's okay. Now it's cool. And, it's interesting. I don't know where all this goes. I really don't. But listen.
Shutting down the government just because you don't like a law that was passed and found constitutional. No Congress before this one has ever in history been irresponsible enough to threaten default, to threaten an economic shutdown, to suggest America not pay its bills, just to try to blackmail a president into giving them some concessions. We're not going to submit to this kind of total irresponsibility.
That was former President Obama. Pretty clear what he was saying. Schumer said it in March. Senator Shaheen, New Hampshire, said it before. Why is it cool now? They were always yelling at Republicans, you can't shut the government down over policy demands and default on our obligations. Talk about hypocrisy. Oh, my goodness. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an H. Back in a moment.
On the Pulse of New Hampshire.
All right, we are back on the food side. The governor's office is saying that as of Wednesday, I mean, I think the easiest way, the food pantry in Manchester, you can contact, you can Google New Hampshire's SNAP contingency food plan for the mobile networks. But as of Wednesday, these mobile sites are going to be across the state. And I think in a positive way, because I look at the veterans front and I think of all the nonprofits. And I think of Tom Raffio, president and CEO of Northeast Delta Dental, and what he's done. And, you know, as he always says, you can't control politics in Washington, but you can make a difference here at home. And I think this is a good way, this food issue right now with what's going on. You know, the finger pointing, the blaming. I said the other day, I've never seen, and I don't know if it's social media that makes it sounds like, you know, a lot of young people don't even know what nails on a chalkboard, you know, the old chalkboard in the classrooms when they use chalk on the board versus digital. But when you'd run your fingernails down the board to get someone's attention, didn't Quint do that in Jaws when he was at the town meeting and they're talking about getting the shark and he runs his, you know, down the board. And I'm looking at this day and age of Washington. There's so much finger pointing and whining and blaming. I was mentioning earlier how New Hampshire stood up this plan. We just had Governor Kelly out live in my show to kick off the show this morning at 9, talking about if you currently rely, I think she said 25,000 kids in New Hampshire and families, 75,000, more than 50,000 people, 1.3 million. So it's a smaller percentage than certainly Maine per capita, but rely on some food assistance. And with the price of food, the price of mortgages, affordable housing, rent, electricity, healthcare, I get it. So the New Hampshire set aside money. They got a game plan. When was the last time you saw Washington with a game plan? There's a game plan. It's up and running. Starting today if you need some support. But Wednesday, these food pantries, mobile network. That's because leadership. Solving a problem, not pointing fingers. And I'm looking at, I don't even know much about the governor of New York, her name, or Governor Healy in Mass, or Governor Mills in Maine. And they announced the other day, like $4 million in Massachusetts, they're going to stand up for some SNAP. Look at the size of Massachusetts. New Hampshire's doing 2 million. Massachusetts does 4. But this is a state in Massachusetts. And by the way, I had to laugh when Governor Ayotte ran for office. Don't mass up New Hampshire. And that upset some people. Oh, my goodness. Don't insult Massachusetts. We rely on them. We wouldn't exist as a state if it wasn't for them. What are you smoking? Are you kidding me? Yeah, they rely on us. We rely on them, okay? Massachusetts. Don't mass up NH. Massachusetts has an income or sales tax. Massachusetts spends, with all this whining and pointing at blaming Donald Trump for the food assistance, blaming everyone over the government shutdown. Wah, 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 wah. Massachusetts, before the government shutdown, spends $1 billion a year between federal and state dollars on housing, insurance, hotels, transportation for illegal immigrants. Whatever word they're describing, they came here illegally in mass. $1 billion a year. $1 billion. So Massachusetts has people that need food assistance, and they're going to spend temporarily $4 million, $1 billion a year on undocumented. But how about this one? This is a good one with Veterans Day coming up. I looked up on my own how much Massachusetts 2025 legislature and the governor set aside for ending veteran homelessness in the state of Massachusetts. So go back to what I said at the beginning. $1 billion a year on, let's just be politically correct, undocumented immigrants. $1 billion a year in Mass. This is Governor Healy, holier than thou, liberal Governor Healy. $1 billion on undocumented immigrants. $3 million a year. 3 million on ending veteran homelessness. That to me speaks to the priority of that state. $1 billion on undocumented, 3 million on ending veteran homelessness. So New Hampshire acts, and by the way, we have no income or sales tax. How is it we can even survive? How is it we got up this morning and drove on asphalt on a highway with no income or sales tax? It's mind-boggling to me. It's a modern-day political miracle. Isn't it amazing? And yet we find a way to support our veterans through wonderful nonprofits. We have a campus in Franklin, New Hampshire for veterans that's up and running right now, part of Easter Seals in Franklin. the military and veterans campus, housing, support services. Take a drive there if you're a veteran. You served us. This is to serve you. Veterans Count, part of Easter Seals that I support each year in May with my 12-hour radiothon. Make 12 hours count for our veterans. Veterans Count, part of Easter Seals. If you're a veteran right now, and it might not be food, but because of groceries and electricity costs, you might be out of work, but you served us, and less than 1% serves in the military. 340 million very entitled Americans. If you served, contact Veterans Count. VetsCount.org, New Hampshire. VetsCount.org. VetsCount.org, New Hampshire. And if your family needs $800 for that brake job for the van or the vehicle to get kids around, and you don't have the money, you earned it. You served us. We raised the money for you. It's there. And Vets Count reached out. They reminded me and others to remind you that, especially right now with this shutdown stuff, if you're impacted negatively, contact Veterans Count. It's right here in New Hampshire, part of Easter Seals. They have resources. Really no red tape other than showing that you're a veteran. And then talk to one of their people on the phone. You might have to email or scan over what the bill you're trying to pay, but they have the money to support you. That's what New Hampshire does. Not the governor of New York whining, blasting President Trump for everything in her life. Oh my goodness. What are they going to do, by the way, these people? The day when Donald Trump's no longer president. I know it's 3 years, but it's going to come at some point. Who are they going to blame for their back pain, their migraines, their stress in life? I've never seen in this generation of all ages of Americans more blaming and finger pointing. It's like no one's responsible for anything anymore. No one. Last time I checked, and let me just say, New Hampshire is refreshing because of the leaders that don't finger point. They don't whine. I mentioned Tom Raffio earlier. He'll join us later this morning. Their board at Delta Dental for 5 years plus now has covered oral health surgeries for veterans because it's not covered by the VA in Congress. They just do it. And then their board in Northeast Delta Dental will pay the veteran-owned dental practice if there's a $3,200, oral health surgery. And by the way, these surgeries are not cosmetic. Sometimes they're life savings if you have a impacted area and your head's pounding and you have an infection that's going up into your jawbone. The surgeries are done and they're covered, free to the veteran. This is what New Hampshire does. Kudos to the state on standing up this mobile food pantries this week, while all the finger pointing and whining continues in Washington. All I know is the time I've survived on this earth, physically and spiritually, I've never found finger pointing and whining and blaming never took the pain away, never solved the damn thing in my life. And speaking of the military, maybe it's why I'm so pro supporting our veterans, is my late dad, the Marine. I couldn't leave in the morning, even if I had hockey practice at 4:45 a.m. in Lynn at the Lynn Arena, unless my bed was made. And he'd check it, being a former DI and a Marine. And he explained to me, it's the one thing you can start your day that's positive. Make your bed. Your mother and I aren't going to do it. Make sure your room's clean too. Pick up those socks. Move your hockey bag. Those are the things. You can't finger point and blame. No one's going to clean up your room for you but you. Commentary 603-228-2080. But kudos to New Hampshire for taking action on this food thing. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an Age. Back in a moment.
Jack Heath on the pulse of New Hampshire.
All right, we are back. Coming up, Doug Tengden on the economic side of things. Top of the 10 o'clock, Paul Steinhauser. Our own Paul. Good morning, Hampshire Pulse and H reports nationally for Fox News. He's in New Jersey ahead of the big election tomorrow. We have some elections. Manchester mayor's race, Rochester. I mean, we got tomorrow's voting day in some places. We'll have the very latest with Paul. Also, New York City. Wow. I'll come back to that one. How can I not? I'll come back to that one. But also coming up, Doug Tengden on the economic side, World Market Advisors, and a whole lot more. But I do want to take one other moment, and J-Dog will talk at some point on some of the big, I watched a lot of football yesterday. Patriots held on, and really that's all they did was hold on. I think they got almost nothing in the second half, but I did watch the Chief-Bills game, J-Dog. We'll come back to that. And, of course, Toronto Blue Jays, not quite there, Dog, but Dodgers get it done, and a lot of people. That was a great series, tight right to the end. But last night, I want to just comment. I watched after the Bills defeating the Chiefs in Buffalo. I watched the 60 Minutes interview with President Trump. And you know what's interesting on 60 Minutes? It's pre-recorded. So they sat down with the president at Mar-a-Lago, I think it was Friday night after his Asian trip, and they aired the 12 or 15-minute segment edited last night. It's the first interview President Trump has done with 60 Minutes in 5 years. Remember the one with Harris, in which the Trump team sued the parent company of CBS and 60 Minutes, Paramount, whoever, saying they edited it to be favorable to Harris and change kind of the inference. And no one admitted guilt or anything, but it's amazing. They settled. I think, I don't know how much it was, $20 million. They settled last night. It's interesting. I don't know why. I said this to someone this morning. I've done these interviews in the past when I was in television at WMUR. As news director, I did 2 or 3 sit-down interviews with sitting presidents, more than one in the Oval Office, Bill Clinton, George Bush Sr., and more than a few with Bill Clinton. And we taped the interviews because they're not live. We would go to the White House, get down there the night before, get in there in the morning, clear through the security, the bomb sniffers. They check the batteries and the equipment. You get settled in the Oval Office, the microphones, the water glasses. They tell you don't touch anything. You're sitting there. The president comes in. You do the interview. You fly home. We aired it, but we aired the whole interview. 60 Minutes, that interview last night, I don't know if you know this, was like 90-minute interview. 90 minutes. The president sits down with 60 Minutes, and they edit the 12 or 15 minutes. So they said, Mr. President, what are you doing to end the government shutdown? There's a short clip that they pull where Trump's answer may have been 4 minutes, and they air the 40 seconds. Now, the one thing that people won't even think about in looking at that interview, think of the last 4 years in the Biden administration, Joe Biden. Number one, can you even imagine? I mean, it would never have happened. Joe Biden doing a 90-minute interview? Are you kidding me? Oh my goodness. It was like, I'm not being mean. It was physically and cognitively impossible. And you never saw Joe Biden really do interviews at all in the end. They protected him. They hit him. I mean, all the books and all the staffers are pointing fingers. Can you imagine Kamala Harris doing a 90-minute interview on anything? She's out there now talking about 2028. She's just doing snippets, and every time she speaks, she's reminding people of why she didn't win the election. So Trump, 90 minutes, sits down with 60 Minutes, and he's in Asia on a trip. I don't know about you. I'd be pretty tired if I spent a few days over in South Korea and have all these meetings, and even if you snoozed on Air Force One and you sit down, you do a 90-minute interview. Say what you want about this president and this administration. He does interviews. You may not like the answers, but he does interviews. And it's amazing now with the government shutdown still in an impasse and both sides pointing fingers and blaming the others. But again, I'm telling you, Republicans just want to reopen the government, no conditions. That's a fact. Democrats want all these conditions attached. Now, I could play again what Barack Obama said about how bad that government is when you threaten to shut the government down over policy demands and laws you didn't like. Because one thing I'm going to tell you, I don't know if you know this, and I'm being totally serious because sometimes the facts don't seem to matter anymore when it comes to politics. But listen to the beginning of what former President Obama said when Republicans were threatening to shut the government down years ago. Listen to what he said about laws you may not like that are passed and it's constitutional.
This kind of total irresponsibility. Congress needs to pay our bills on time. Congress needs to pass a budget on time. Congress needs to put an end to governing from crisis to crisis. If Republicans do not like the law, they can go through the regular channels and processes to try to change it. That's why we have elections. You do not threaten the full faith and credit of the United States of America.
You don't shut the government down, period. That's the former President Obama. You don't shut the government down over policy demands. Now, I don't know if Senator Shaheen and Senator Hassan know this. Well, wait a minute. Let me strike. Of course they know this. They know this. But the health, the subsidies, the Obamacare, open enrollment, Affordable Care Act, the big bill, the big, beautiful bill, these Republican laws that Democrats don't like passed Congress. They passed Congress. They are constitutional. And Democrats are demanding the Republicans continue these subsidies and so forth. Now, health insurance is too expensive. I agree. But there are elections a year from now. Democrats can reopen the government, run for re-election or run for election, control Congress, and pass new laws on health insurance. I'm just pointing this out. Hypocrisy. All right, when we come back, the economic front. Doug Tengden, World Market Advisors, next. All right, welcome back. Welcome back. Doug Tengden, World Market Advisors. A lot of economic data to go through. Good morning, Doug. Did we lose Doug? Go ahead, Doug. Yeah, continue. Go ahead. When does it end? Why can't we ever get jobs like that, right? Hey, hey, right. Yeah. Yep. Fiscal. Yeah. Hey, right. Two. Right. Quick, quick question for you, Doug. Unrelated, switching gears without getting into politics, but it is. So we have some elections tomorrow, including New York City, mayor. Democrats going to win that I see the nominee and socialist communist. I don't think the president was wrong last night. He's out there, free stuff, free bus rides, free housing, free food. And I don't know who's going to pay for it, but people like free stuff. You read these stories about the financial institutions. I mean, Jamie Dimon's bank just did a huge new building in New York City's the hub, the center of Wall Street. And then you read stories that are we going to see as New York City is run by a socialist, communist type person, whole different policy, not a real pro business person that we know of. Are we going to see migration out of New York City of these financial banks, or are they just going to ride it out and think this is a blip? I love that one. That's what I think about New York City. Okay. Okay. One other one. Right. Okay. Last spring, I remember some of these big bankers and economists saying Trump's tariff policies are going to sink us and put us by summer into a deep recession. We're into November. What do you think about the tariff policy of President Trump? Yep. Yep. All right, Doug, worldmarketadvisors.com. If you want to reach Doug, worldmarketadvisors.com. Thank you, Doug. Reminds me of that Tony the Tiger or Frosted Flakes. Great. Thank you, Doug. All right, welcome to November. Does it feel like it? Yeah, tomorrow we'll get some elections. Paul Steinhauser's in New Jersey, head of a big election there tomorrow, and he'll join us live. Good morning, Hampshire, the Pulse of an H. Then after Doug, we'll get a check-in on the local political front. Anna Brown, Citizens Count, citizenscount.org. Our poll question up on X this morning is, do you approve of New Hampshire's proactive food pantry contingency plan and for the SNAP benefits or food assistance? Yes or no? I think it's been pretty good leadership without the finger pointing and whining and blaming. Oh my goodness. I don't understand. I don't know. I guess it's easy to blame everyone but yourself, right? All right. A little bit later on, Rory O'Neill, NBC News, or actually 24/7 National News, one and the same. Tom Raffio, some good news coming out of the weekend. And some of the J-Dog, I don't know, your Packers. What was that with the Panthers? What are they, 5 what are they now? Panthers are. Can you believe that? It looked like the longest yard out there with Burt Reynolds in those uniforms they were wearing. Who's tonight, by the way? Oh, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, right? Cowboys are not doing too great. All right. Hey, Alexa. Hey, Google. Play the Pulse of an H. Jack Heath on a Monday. Welcome to November 3rd. We're just about 10 o'clock, 9:58, top of the hour. We'll have some Fox News for you, local news. And more of New Hampshire's top home for news talk. Good morning, New Hampshire, the Pulse of an H. Hey, Alexa. Hey, Google, worldwide. Play the Pulse of an H. Back in a moment.